back once again. You are now tuned into the underground. My name is Mbaya and I go by the doctor. Today, what I have for y'all is one of my young guys. I was able to capture this during my back to school wave for his picture day. Also, if you read the title, I will be demonstrating a shadow fade using two simple guidelines.
Oh, Mom, can you come here real quick?
She's on the phone.
Yes, baby.
Put this on your arm.
You gotta love the kids, man. This is one of my very straightforward individuals. He's very blunt and says how he feels. Very demanding, just like you could see in that last clip. Forcing his mom to put on that wrist bracelet, whatever he had going on. I don't know, but he's the man. This is my guy, though. We chop it up throughout the whole service, which usually makes life a lot easier because if the kids talk to you, you build a relationship and you will always make sure that they come back. Now, I'm not really sure if he's always consistent with just me as a barber or if he does go to somebody else, because there's some questionable things that I've seen before, but that doesn't really bother me. People are gonna go spend their money where they please, but for the most part, this is a very easy going individual. I ended up doing a shadow fade on him, which his mother, of course, allowed me to pretty much do whatever it is that I saw fit that would look great for picture day. I usually give him a drop fade with the top left, just pretty much enough to texturize it or sponge it rather. I do bring it down like a 4 guard, but in this case I'm gonna bring it down wavelength, and I'm starting off by setting in my first guideline with no guard, clipper lever all the way open, and using my eyebrow as the point of reference as far as setting in my guideline. And I quickly, of course, slapped on the 1.5 tight guard. With my second guideline, I was of course using my point of reference as the corner of the vertical bar at the very top where it meets the frontal lineup, which is that front straightaway line, and just making sure that I stay below the ridge, because in a second after I set in this guideline right here, using of course the same guard, I'm going to close the lever all the way and follow the hair up top with the grain. Eventually I'm going to use a smaller, shorter guard, but in this case, because I want to kind of preserve as much hair as possible on the top to keep it dark and slowly mold it into a clean cut, because regardless to this hair being shampooed or just being picked out, it's not going to make a difference. It's still going to be a rough cut. So I'm going to, of course, take my time about how I cut it. So the clipper lever is closed completely right now, and I'm following the flow of the hair starting in the crown area, because he does have, like most people, that swirl up top in that crown, which of course starts to follow through from the right to the left, wrapping around the head. You know what I'm saying? So just follow the flow, be careful, don't rush. You don't want any patchwork being done. So after this rough haircut is being done and completed, I'm going to start doing some blending, which is, like I say, I'm being very clear and honest here. This is going to be rough. So for beginners, if you're starting off with an afro or curly hair texture or just longer hair in general, remember there's always going to be a challenge when it comes down to helping the hair lay. So be careful, take your time, don't rush. And now that I'm going ahead and starting to blend, I'm going to put on my number 1 tight guard. Clipper lever is of course all the way open, and as usual I'm using my open, my half, and closed technique. So if you know what I'm talking about, it's pretty much working that lever is all I'm doing. So at this point there's a lot of molding this hair in, so I'm going to work that line out as much as possible. And as you can see, I'm also kind of doing what I call or consider a fill style haircut. So I'm now starting to kind of go over the top. I have the clipper lever open with that number 1. I don't really want this hair low, so I'm trying to make sure I save as much as possible. So I'm kind of just going over the hair slightly, kind of making sure everything's smooth, because that true wavelength cut that I want, it won't be perfect because of what his hair just was. So I have to do what I have to. And remember, y'all, improvise. Don't take everything that I tell y'all to do verbatim. It's just remember to be the judge. So I'm going back in with my, blended technique. So at this point, I pretty much have the lever halfway closed. Then I'm going to close it completely just to make sure that I blend in that line a little bit smoother. Now, like I say, this is going to be rough. So after I'm done completed with all this blending, I'm going to shift through or jump through different guards. Like now I have on my zero tight guard. This is the half or the 1/16. I have that guard on, just pretty much using the same technique. Open completely, halfway, close completely. Or you can improvise in between the different spaces that you see fit. Then after, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to spray some water on the top. And I will also, of course, if necessary, put on alcohol or whatever your choice is, hold and spray, just to kind of help place that hair in, a better, prep, or just prepare the hair a little bit better than what, it is right now. So I'm just applying water with that mister. That's the barber plug mister gun, or the, Gen Z gun. Then now I'm using my nano mister, which is filled with alcohol, just to kind of dry out the hair a little bit, as well as the lineup. For the most part is what I sprayed the alcohol on. I did apply a little bit of some level 3 hold and spray along that lineup. I'm going to use a brush. As you can see, there's still harsh lines left. This is all intentional because I'm just trying to kind of get a little bit of some control of the hair, not trying to completely rush into the blend, because I have to apply some sort of liquid to help manipulate. And, hold and spray and alcohols help. And now I'm just kind of trying to dry away that water, making sure everything's straight, smoothly flowing through the haircut, So when I say flowing through the haircut, this is a feel style haircut, is what I'm trying to really say. And everything being prepped the way it is going to be easier to feed through those blades of those clippers. If that makes any sense. If it's not making sense, I will try to make sure that I put out another video with a shadow fade that is more clear, because the shadow fade tends to be a very feel style haircut service. You don't rush the blend at all, because everybody's head shape is different, and texture as well plays a huge role. So how those hairs feed into the blades will always vary depending on who you're working on. And this is all about texture. You got to know what blades to use and not to use sometimes, because when it comes to blending, that boosted blade that I was using to pretty much setting the guidelines is not the best for blending all the time, especially with his texture. You need something that's going to be a little bit softer and more forgiving when it comes to motor style. And motor style here, the difference is I'm using the digital brushless motor, which is my cyborg, to do the blending and making sure that all the touch-up work is done on point. And sometimes it's usually always about the blade, but the blade that's fixed on this cyborg is amazing compared to the boosted, which has this fade style blade. And not only does it have a fade style blade, the teeth on there are pretty wide. They're not as tight as what you have on this cyborg, which is equipped with a faper as well as a 2.0 cutter, if I'm not mistaken. So very forgiving. It works wonders. The details are amazing, and you can take your time. You can never mess up a haircut with the cyborg, in my opinion. It's definitely a heavier clipper, not for everybody, but I do highly recommend that you get you one of these, because it's one of those tools that you need in your arsenal. If you don't have it, you could probably get the blade set that comes on this and just equip it on a clipper that, of course, like a Stylecraft tool or Gamma Plus. It is compatible with all of them across the board, so keep that in mind. But as you can see, I'm just pretty much working the details in. I'm just using my open technique, then I use my half, and I use my, of course, close. And like I said, this is a feel haircut. You don't have to take everything that I'm talking about verbatim, because you literally have to feel and see what you see fit to do. Do that, exactly that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going through this using my dub guards. I have used my 1, I've used my 0, wherever necessary, and I've gone in with no guard at all. So I'm also going over the hair just a little bit, molding it in, making sure everything's smooth, because now that the hair is dry and laid, it's kind of been shaped and molded into a way where it's easier to cut and follow, and it's going a lot smoother. And it seems like I'm going lower. That's kind of the point, but I'm trying to help shape this haircut into something that whenever he returns, everything's prepped for me, ready to go. I really would love for them to stick to me, and I'm talking about his parents or his mother. I'm sure there's somebody else that they go to. I'm just not for certain, because he does go for long periods of time, sometimes without a service. But when he does come back, not that it's a big deal, there's just some things that I see that are not very ideal, from scars to, small little things that, need to be taken care of. Like, he does have some little bumps on the back of his nape area that need to be taken care of. I will probably get to that sometime soon. It's not my doing. Again, like I said, I think he does go to somebody, so there's some ingrowns from maybe a sharp blade or something being used inappropriately on him. But I'm going to go ahead and get into this lineup because everything's pretty much completed right now, blended properly. I'm going to start around the ear, going towards the nape, making sure everything is clean and symmetrical. This Stylecraft protege that I'm using is a beast. This thing is definitely the one. And for those of you who don't know, I did swap my lid and my blade set that came on my protege, just to kind of have this thing performing on point how I like. And I have of course, standard X Pro fixed blade on this thing. This is the gold titanium. Then I have just a standard cutter. That's not the one cutter, but it's definitely performing very well. It's soft on the skin, especially for him. It's not rough. It's not reckless. No rough, nonsense going on. But one thing I will say is choose your tools wisely, appropriately. You don't want to be hurting your clients, your customers, or your guests, whatever you want to call them. Don't hurt them. You want to make sure they get a comfortable service. And with kids, they tend to be really sleepy and fidgety, so you want to have something that's going to be easy on their skin, so they're not jumping on you or telling you they're uncomfortable as you service them. So now that I have the lineup around the ears and around that nape area completed, I'm going to, of course, just do detail work along that taper area. And when that's all completed, I'm going to move over to the front. It's all about the details, y'all. And like I said, improvise. Don't ever rush the service. And check him out. He's tired, he's sleepy. Especially when these kids go back to school. Their schedule's thrown off from summer vacation. They are literally out of it. They do the most when it comes to sitting in this chair, and they're always nosy about everything that you do. So I'm gonna start off in the front, work my way from the middle, create my guideline, and work out to the vertical bars. As usual, nothing out of the ordinary, and I have to kind of bend those corners because of how low one side of the lineup is sloped, so I have to match it up with the other side, of course. This is a perfect example of one of those things that we will run into as a barber when it comes to abnormalities. So I have to kind of follow the flow that will help this thing really pop and look very natural. So I have to slightly bend it in those corner areas where the frontal, of course, meets the vertical bars. So as you can see, I have the frontal line completed, and I'm getting that vertical bar last after creating my C cup, only using the corners of my blades, barely setting it in on top of the skin flat. So make sure that everything that you do is not rushed, no pressure. Don't ever do anything out of the ordinary. And I'm keeping no sideburns. We're just doing a little taper style blowout look on the sides. And my man's definitely gone. He's sleepy at this point. He's out of it. But I left that taper on the front sides last because I wanted to make sure that I set in that lineup first. Then I did the details later. So following through, doing some more refining detail work on the lineup using my cyborg just to refine the line a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Bring it out, give it a 3D look. In a more simpler term, I'm just pretty much saying, check your work. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to rush. And I'm all about the lineup. This is my favorite part. It's the most important part. The blend can suck, not too bad, but you gotta make sure that the lineup is good. And the lineup is definitely official. So if I see that I'm happy with what it looks like, I move on and, you know, set in some more details with the last Sharper 2, which is my, of course, razor blade. And he's over here being nosy as usual, asking me questions that he already knows. He was asking me, what is that? And I'm telling him, yeah, can you please sit back for me because we gotta get this done. You gotta get moving. Your mom's out there ready to go. She was actually on an important business call. And yeah, you know, got him done. This service probably took me about 20-25 minutes. On a super busy day, that's kind of lengthy, but not too bad because of how he walked in with the curly afro. It was very ideal for me to time it the way it did, because usually I do 40-minute services, but that's entirely way too long for a kid. I know some people that can actually knock this haircut style out in like 10-15 minutes, which may vary on the quality, but I like to take my time and make sure everything's done properly so that the people can come back. But yeah, that's that, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful in any way. Please share it to anybody that you know that may find this helpful. Definitely save it. Do whatever you got to do. Follow me on more different platforms. Subscribe to this channel. I will catch y'all on the next one.